I just realized that I have pretty much reviewed almost every Splinter Cell games in the form of worth playing except Double Agent, which I'll be covering in this ranking video. Splinter Cell has been one of the greatest stealth game franchise and obviously one of my personal favorite, and it's just a sad thing that Blacklist was the last Splinter Cell game and the franchise got buried in 2013. So I guess it's time to go through this nostalgic memory lane and rank all the Splinter Cell games, which I believe goes by the order of worst to best. Now everything I'll be saying in this video is totally based on my opinion, so don't take anything personally. Alright, now enough talking, grab some popcorn and let's actually get into it. Now I hate to say this, but the worst Splinter Cell game I played was the very first one that came out in 2002. And it's probably because I wasn't really that interested in this series, but when Splinter Cell Blacklist trailer came out, it looked like a really cool game that I thought I'd give it a try. And recently I thought let's just go through all the Splinter Cell that has been released, and obviously I started with Splinter Cell 1. Now I know this game was the first release and was expecting it to be clunky or whatever, and this game pretty much worked like a brainwash for me because I played Blacklist at start. And then playing this is like me telling myself, oh, so this was the actual Splinter Cell. Moving slowly with making less noise, staying in the dark, shooting each and every lights with my inaccurate pistol felt really boring and hard. But I guess I was just starting to adapt to this playstyle. There are also these pre-rendered cutscenes that is there to tell you a story about Sam Fisher's first task involving some Georgian CIA agents, but we all know the story wasn't the main focus for these classic Splinter Cells. You have these visibility meters that shows you when you are in complete darkness like my future, because you are supposed to play this game without being seen. The levels were linear and had a lot of computers that you can use to get information as nodes besides your objectives, which helps to make the progression easier. Sometimes they are kinda overwhelming too. Now there are two things in Splinter Cell 1 that I thought was outrageous, and those were the alarm system and the pistol inaccuracy. And why is that? Because it didn't make any fucking sense. 3 alarms means you are out of the mission is okay, I get it, I just have to be careful, right? No, not just that. When you're leaving an area or like moving to the next one, you gotta hide all the bodies in the dark even if you killed all of them, or else the alarm would go off. It's like God saw what I did and is ringing the alarm because I didn't hide the body or something. The pistol inaccuracy is another shitty thing. Your bullet often goes somewhere else even if you align your target with your crosshair. Here's a clip from Pandora tomorrow that added this red dot laser on your pistol to show you where the reticle actually is, and it seems like it moves along with your breathing. It's so annoying in Splinter Cell 1 that you don't even have any laser on your pistol and just had to shoot with this reticle. It felt like some strict rule that forced me to not shoot anyone, because if you screw up somewhere you gotta load the quick save, unlike other Splinter Cell games where you can actually unscrew yourself somehow. For example, if you get detected, then don't even think about shooting your way out because you ain't gonna hit any shots, son. So until you get your other gun SC-20, you are pretty much limited on your playstyle. Then finding different keycodes for different doors felt like another hassle. The interrogating and voice acting felt great to me, but when the gameplay gets ruined, I just can't enjoy it anymore. Basically, for all these reasons, this game is at the bottom of the list. I'm sorry OG fans, but good things are coming. The next game on the ranking I wanna place is Splinter Cell Conviction. Now don't get me wrong, Conviction wasn't a bad game for an action third-person shooter, but it was a pretty bad Splinter Cell game. Like, calling this Splinter Cell would be a wrong thing because this definitely did not feel like a Splinter Cell at all. It's more like a burger where the patties and the cheese defines a good third-person shooter, and it is covered by 2 thin buns that are called Splinter and Cell. This is a bad analogy, but you get the idea, sort of. In Splinter Cell Conviction, the game focuses more on a weirdly written plot of Sam Fisher that made the game having a poor story, less characteristics of Splinter Cell, and add some monochrome to his screen, I guess. Now when I played this game, it was like playing a random character named Sam who just goes berserk and more personal. The core mechanics of the previous Splinter Cell games were mostly pulled off, and some cool but not as Splinter Cell kinda cool stuffs were added. That took roughly 4 years. The visuals were improved and a lot of gameplay changes had happened. The old-fashioned way of hiding in the dark, shooting the lights, lockpicking, hacking did not exist at all. To make the gameplay even faster and focus majorly on the story, most of the time you just shoot to kill everyone you see. Also, there is this new mark on execute feature which is pretty awesome and satisfying, but it made the game easier and faster than before. The silhouette was added, which is determined by your last known position, and moving from cover to cover was some really good inclusions in my opinion. Even if he is past his half-century mark on the age stats, Sam moves strangely faster and is more agile than he had ever been. I think the game tried to mimic the badassness of John Wick to some extent because killing with headshots over and over and over again felt great to almost invincible. The interrogate feature was there and was more like a cinematic than being a static part of the game. Levels were linear than before, you didn't have night vision but a sonar goggle, which was quite unnecessary as the screen just turns black and white when you are in the shadow and increases your visibility anyway. I would give props to the co-op mode and the deniable ops mode that did a good job about letting you play sooner than showing a lengthy pre-rendered cutscene. But still, after all this, if you are looking for a Splinter Cell game, this ain't it, chief. This is just an awesome action game that you'd enjoy playing but wouldn't wanna recommend to someone who wants to specifically play a Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow was released in 2004 and it was like a revamped version of the original Splinter Cell. It had all the nuts and bolts of it with some additional stuffs that made the game more acceptable for me. Obviously you still go by the alarm rules, but this time the alarm had the ability to reduce itself if you stayed hidden for a while after alerting a stage. But with some good things, there comes some bad things too. Like there wasn't any dedicated alarm box like before where the NPCs would run to, but whenever you get detected or sometimes even knocked someone unconscious, the alarm would go off paranormally. And the famous words of Lambert's mouth.
Fisher, you are paid to be invisible.
Bruh.
Stages worked like if the alarm is in stage 1 then enemies have flak jackets, if it's stage 2 they have helmets, and 3 alarms obviously means mission is over. What I liked about Pandora Tomorrow more than its predecessor is the level design. They were still pretty linear but the locations were more diverse than before. For example, the level in jungle, then the train level and more like that. The train level was really impressive with some noteworthy moments to witness, and I think it's probably one of the best levels in the whole series. Sam Fisher works with Lambert and Grimm's daughter to capture a guy named Sadono who has placed a biological bomb on US Embassy as far as I remember. As much as I liked the level design, narratives and character models were the opposite. The character models didn't look eye-pleasing in the pre-rendered cutscenes and the narrative was horribly weird and out of place. That leaves the core gameplay, which I enjoyed to some extent. I mean, I still had to hide the bodies in the dark and had to shoot lights and enemies with that abominated pistol, but the decreasing alarm mechanic and the laser sight led some helping hands to my horrendous journey. Another thing I quite appreciated was the uses of gadgets and how early you get your hands on the SC-20, because I mostly used that gun to escape from the traumatizing pistol. And the SC-20 had the flexibility to use different bullet types, which some of them became handheld gadgets in the later Splinter Cells. You also had access to grenades and flashbangs, which were cool. You could now whistle to make a distraction.
All I have is this dumb whistle. Doesn't even work.
The visibility indicator had a blinking feature that indicated which dark place is safe to drop a biological entity. Thank you very much, I guess. Another simple but convenient improvement was the key code would show up on your screen when you use the keypad lock. Pandora Tomorrow also had a really cool multiplayer, but the server got shut down, which is kinda sad, but overall I would say I would enjoy Pandora Tomorrow more than the first Splinter Cell for obvious reasons. Okay, now we have come to the upper half of the list, and on number 3 I think it's Splinter Cell Double Agent. Regardless of the negative reviews on Steam, I still played this, and this game does not have negative reviews because of its gameplay or plot or anything, but it's because of the random crashes and weird bugs. But you know, sometimes you gotta struggle to get something, right? So I don't regret playing Double Agent. Of course the bugs and crashes were annoying and sometimes too frequent, but in general I really liked how the game was made. So the game's first mission was just a regular operation that you would do, and there was another guy with you who assists you, and at first I thought, is this what Double Agent is about? Like there's 2 agents in one operation and the other guy will be with me for the rest of the missions or something? But no, it's actually because later Sam was sent in as an undercover operator as a criminal in the jail and helped a guy named Jimmy and became their agent too. So now Sam had to gain their trust by doing missions for them and also keep the trust with his actual agency too. I really like the concept of doing different objectives to balance the trust level of both factions. There are 2 factions, the JBA and the NSA. NSA is your own true faction and you're an imposter in JBA. Like if some objectives increases the trust level of JBA, then the NSA trust level can go down, and then you have to do the NSA objectives to bring the trust level back to normal. Then there are the undercover levels where you need to do the same type of works in the JBA hideout and balance the trust as usual, but here you cannot use any guns or can't be seen doing suspicious activities, or else the mission can get totally scrubbed. But anyways, there is a scripted level where you get caught by this chick of the JBA faction, but you know, it didn't really matter because Sam Fisher was at the peak of chadness at the time, and also bald men are considered more attractive by the internet, I guess. I think the level designs of Double Agents were good if not great because it felt like it was offering a fair amount of approaches to accomplish your tasks, but at the end, they turned out to be linear anyway. Gameplay wise, shooting felt good in this, and you had a lot more gadgets than any other Splinter Cell games, which offered a lot of options you could choose to do what needs to be done. The hacking interface was somewhat changed than Chaos Theory, and another safe cracking mechanic was inserted as a minigame, which looked quite awesome to me. Even though Double Agent was quite enjoyable as a Splinter Cell, I still didn't like a thing or two. I've already talked about the bugs, so that's not the issue here, but the screen was just full of emptiness in the PC version. Yeah, I'm talking about the HUD, which almost didn't even exist in the Ubisoft Milan version, but the Shanghai version did this job better, but it wasn't out for the PC version. In this Shanghai version, the HUD was pretty normal and had enough important things on the screen. Another problem which I think was kinda annoying was the offset had a new animation which made the intention clear that they were trying to make this game a little more immersive than before. But for me it was kind of a waste of time because it was not only slow but also took a lot of time to navigate back and forth. Despite all the issues though, I think Splinter Cell Double Agent deserves to be at some place above the bottom half of the series. Number 2. Splinter Cell Blacklist. Now Blacklist playstyle is quite similar to Splinter Cell Conviction, but here it's more polished and feels like a Splinter Cell game in contrast to Conviction. In Blacklist, the story continues after Conviction where you are with your team inside a cargo plane and your mission is to stop a faction called the Engineers and a man named Sadiq who tries to steal data from government that can lead to a world war. In terms of gameplay, Blacklist feels great to be honest. Your mission starts with a cutscene and you are given choices to launch or hold a mission, which doesn't matter that much. The hold mission option is probably there because you accidentally triggered a mission or something. So after launching, you immediately go to the gear section where you can choose almost everything. From your underwear to your fucking sunglasses, you can literally customize anything. You can also upgrade them and get better stuffs. Like some suit parts have more stealth stats than others and they can help you in the missions. And how do you get the moolahs to buy shits? Well, you just complete missions, but you can also get bonuses if you do it the Sam Fisher way. There are 3 combat styles, Ghost, Panther and Assault, and each of them rewards you differently. The Ghost playstyle rewards you the most, where the Assault rewards you the least. I like this flexibility where the players can experiment different playstyle and stick to the one that suits the best. It also makes the game much more replayable. The stun gun is a good weapon to play in Ghost style because you are still shooting but not killing anyone. You get 2 modes of knocking the enemies, lethal and non-lethal. The non-lethal way is a tad bit riskier than lethal, but it also rewards you the most because it's considered as Ghost style. Then there are all the gadgets that was also very fun to use in general. I think in Blacklist the amount of cutscenes are pretty well laid out along with the gameplay. It stays on its lane of showing what's going on and also delivering more than enough gameplay contents. Although the levels are not too much, you have the side missions from different characters in your plane and the side missions are not bad either. Now a lot of mechanics had been removed like the visibility meter or the footstep sounds because this game came out after Conviction. It's more like a mix of Conviction and the previous Splinter Cells. Quicksave wasn't even a thing and this game has a checkpoint system. There's a chase sequence in Conviction and also there's a chase sequence in Blacklist. So yeah, you get the idea. In the levels you also get some side quest type of objectives like bag and tag NPCs, computer hackings and dead drops that would earn you some extra points and monies. Anyways, for me personally the most likable thing in Blacklist is it lets the players play how they want to. You wanna shoot lights and make the area dark? You can do that. You wanna blast enemies with your grenades and mines? That's also viable. Level designs are well crafted and offers more exploration opportunities. The Spies vs Mercs was back and is a really cool multiplayer addition to this game. The only thing that felt a little off is that Sam's voice actor was changed from Michael Ironside to an younger actor, Eric Johnson, so Sam Fisher's voice didn't sound that great. But Blacklist was a really cool game and is my favorite Splinter Cell game, and it really deserves an excellent position in the ranking. Lastly, what I think is the best ever Splinter Cell is obviously Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. Even though this game came out in 2005, I do still believe Chaos Theory is at the pinnacle of the whole fucking series. The way things were handled in Chaos Theory was just amazing, and...
Don't tell me. 3 alarms and the mission is over?
Of course not. This is no video game, Fisher. But you don't want the whole place alerted to your presence. Keep it under control.
Hearing that was the happiest thing in Splinter Cell for me. I felt super relieved to hear this, as the alarms of the previous Splinter Cells had some post-traumatic effect on me. A lot of new things were added, such as the sound meter that indicates how much noise you're making. You could now hack the locked keypads from up close and also from a distance with the camera. Your pistol had a built-in jammer that could jam in electronics, and in my opinion, this is probably the best place to include the jammer. In the first Splinter Cell and Pandora Tomorrow, the cam jammer device was needed to be equipped first, and then you had to hold it to jam a camera, but now it's attached with your primary silenced pistol, and you could not only jam cameras but also other electronics like lights and computers. The game lets you play both lethally and non-lethally based on the levels. If the level allows lethal kills, then you can do it, and if it doesn't, then it will let you kill non-lethally. Shooting is fun and the pistol accuracy wasn't bothersome like before. You could finally play this game guns blazing, but it's not recommended because stealth is really fun in Chaos Theory, and also Chaos Theory was like the true definition of a perfect stealth game. The night vision had a cool transition and was more comfortable. I also liked the heads-up display, it was very clean and informative. It also showed you how many alarms you have triggered. As a 2005's game, its visuals were also ahead of its time. Levels had great details and lightings that was better than the previous titles. They also had more exploration options and vents to navigate, and there were some side objectives too. The side objectives were obviously optional, but you can do it if you want to get 100% completion. I think it was a great idea to show this success rating because it would make a player replay the level again and again to get better ratings. Hiding bodies in the dark also matters for this rating because that's the way Sam Fisher usually handles things. Think of it as a silent assassin rating in Hitman. The enemy AI was pretty realistic in general, and it had one of the best uses of AI I've ever seen in a Splinter Cell. For example, guards turning the lights back on when you just turned it off. There are also a multiplayer and co-op back then when the server was on, but now it's shut down, so maybe it's not possible to play it anymore. But I've seen gameplays and they looked actually really fun. Wish I could play it though. There's also the option of some tutorial videos inside the game that would teach you some mechanics, like a baby learning how to operate a computer for the first time, and also because YouTube wasn't really a thing back then. I think Chaos Theory is the perfect Splinter Cell in the whole series and offers great mechanics and replayability. It wasn't just a great game, but was a masterpiece in terms of a Splinter Cell. Anyway, Splinter Cell was a great series that kept the stealth genre alive for more than a decade, and it's just a smile because it happened kind of moment right now, because I don't really think we'll see any Splinter Cell game again someday. I've also covered the Hitman games ranked some months ago because I really like to play stealth games and grew up playing Splinter Cell and Hitman. So if you're interested in that, check that video out. Anyways, if you have come this long, then thank you very much for watching. A like and subscribe would be really appreciated, and I guess that concludes this video of every Splinter Cell game ranked. See ya.